Let's paint Goku from the Dragonball franchise. Am I saying that right? Dragonball? Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the base stencil free stencil gallery and find Goku. We can do that by looking for Dragonball or Goku, and when we find them, we see that there's a link here to download the free SVGs. And we're going to click on that, and we see a way to configure our download. And here's how we approach that. First thing we're going to do is figure out how big we want the final image to be, so 12 inches high. And then we ask ourselves, what kind of media do we have to cut on? So I'm going to say that we have 10 by 14, which is true. And if I do choose 10 by 14, that means that the whole thing is going to fit on one sheet. Otherwise, it would divide it up into multiple sheets. And that's all I need to change. And when I do that, it's going to send these configured SVG files to me again. That's free because this is in the gallery. And I'm going to look for, in the download, I'm going to look for this directory called SVG layers. And I'm going to find that there's 4 there. Now, in order to cut these myself, I'm going to need a craft cutter. So I'm going to go into Cricut Design Space because I have a Cricut, and I'm going to upload all 4 of these SVGs in there. Now, I might also have a different craft cutter. I might be using Silhouette Go or Sure Cuts a Lot or Make the Cut or Lightburn for a laser cutter, but I've got Design Space, and so these are going to go in one at a time, and each one of them, once they're all there, I can add them all to a single project. I want to work with them all together because I want to resize them all at the same time. So in order to resize them, I select all of them and then click and drag that handle in the lower right hand corner to change the size of all of them at once. If I change the size of just one of them without changing the sizes of the other ones, then obviously the stencil's not going to work. It's not going to, the layers are not going to fit together. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the little layer labels on here, the ones that say layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and I'm also going to get rid of the basestencil.com watermark, or whatever you want to call it, just because I don't want to cut those and have those show in my final output. I do want to leave the registration marks though, because they're going to help me to line up the layers one on top of another so that I get the right alignment. The last thing I do is going to click on each one of these and click attach, so that each one of them cuts with the registration marks in the right place relative to the stencil cuts. So when I say make it, it's going to lay everything on top of the mat, and I'm just going to position each one of these relative to the mat where I actually have the paper stuck to the mat. So I usually leave a little space from the top so that nothing gets caught in the pinch rollers as I get started. And once all 4 of those are placed, I'm going to choose the material I want. And that's going to determine the cut pressure and the number of times that the cutter goes around each shape. I have chosen a setting for heavy cardstock that cuts each shape twice at the highest pressure. And that works great for me. I usually also, under pressure, I usually say default, just click the highest pressure I can. And then I'm all set, and so I go. These layers don't take a long time to cut. They take probably about 3 minutes each. And as I watch them go, I notice that each shape is being cut out twice. With the double cut, sometimes the blade catches and peels up the paper a little bit, but you'll see this is going to be a very clean stencil. It won't matter a bit. Now let's give them some facial features and some knuckles.